Hey, welcome to this episode of Car Talk. I'm your host, Johnny Dunbar, resident sports performance consultant. All right, so uh, but you have to find a balance between what you're working, your recovery, and it can look like many different things. It's not always the same based on the individual. It changes also based on the individual, how much you recover, how much you work, and it's based off of, generally speaking, your yeah, thank you. It's your recovery work pattern is generally going to be based off of your experience and your tolerance for physical activity. Some people can do a lot of jumping, they can tolerate a lot of soreness and fatigue, right? While others, not as much. And so you have to figure out what works best for you. But there's a double edged sword to that. Just because you have a high tolerance for soreness and pain doesn't mean you should regularly use it. That's where people get into trouble. Because in here, they feel like they can do more, which in reality they can because they can tolerate a lot of soreness and a lot of pain, or they can just find ways to ignore it, but then they end up hurting themselves big picture because they ignored that pain and that soreness for so long, and the the trauma from the workout, from the exercise that they're doing in that moment, or from some movement pattern, will be so intense, relatively speaking, that it causes an injury, it causes a rupture, it causes a break, it causes the dislocation. It's not always that you can't overcome the stress or trauma that a moment puts on your body. It's that it hasn't recovered enough. That area of the body, that muscle, that connective tissue, hasn't recovered enough that you are now at risk based on your current state of recovery. You are now at risk for more of an injury. I'm gone home. And so this is where it becomes very important that you're not overdoing the jumping. This is where people go wrong. They ignore their body, they ignore the muscles. And I know it sometimes to some degree you think, oh yeah, I'll be fine until you are. You're fine until you aren't. And the trouble is in your push to get more vertical, to jump higher, to dunk, to do whatever, now you're compromising your joints. You're compromising your knees. You're compromising your hips. And then it gives you the opposite effect of what you're going for. And it seems like it's a waste of time. It always feels like you can do a little bit more. But the reality of the situation is you can always do more. You can always do more. The problem is you have to find a balance between doing more and doing so much that you end up hurt. And some people don't want to admit that. You may be doing so much that you end up hurting yourself in the big picture. And so you got to find out what that balance is for you. And sometimes you learn based on soreness. You have to look at and feel the soreness that you've got going on in that moment. And you have to find a way. And I know it's tough, but you have to find a way to you have to find a way to see progress, to get progress, to attain progress, but at the same time work out enough. And this is what it comes down to. And it's hard to say, so I don't want to sound like I'm bashing people. But there's the workout, right? It's the workout that helps you improve, the steps, the exercises that you have to do that help you improve. Those exercises may not feel like it's a workout. You might not be exhausted. You might not be tired. You might not be completely wiped. And I know that there are moments where we as people, I've done it myself, you're more so searching for that feeling of being wiped because you associate that with progress. And it, yes and no. Yes and no. The feeling of being wiped, especially early on in your training program, is definitely present. The issue is, what's up? The issue with it is you can't associate those two things together indefinitely. You have to be able to keep them on separate tracks because just because you're wiped doesn't mean you made progress. And just because you're making progress in your training doesn't mean at the end of it you're going to be wiped. And I think that's where people go wrong with their training. They're training for a feeling in their body for that particular moment, and ignoring the outcome that they're looking for, big picture, long term. And you've got to try to sync the two together, right? So think about it this way. This is one way to approach it. You can do this. All right, I know that I want to do legs, and I know that big picture, I want to get a bigger vertical. I want to jump higher. I want to dunk. But I also want to feel like I worked out today. This is where the intensity, you can redirect the intensity. So maybe it's just abs. Maybe I'm just going to do a good amount of abdominal work today, and I'm going to let my legs rest. I'm going to let my legs recover, and then from there, another day where I'm not necessarily worried about intensity of my lifts or my legs. I'm worried more about endurance. Then on that day, I can go get wiped using legs. But you have to find a way because there's got to be moments where you're working at 85% or more to develop strength in the lower body, which increases the amount of force that you can impart on the ground, which makes you jump higher, right? Stronger legs, more potential for vertical jump power, okay? But if you're completely wiped, you may not be able to do that. And you also need to be able to fully recover so that you can fully express the strength that you have. If you're fatigued, you can't fully express the strength that you have. And to that point, now you're worried about risk. At least for me, I'm worried about the fact that this person's at risk for an injury because of fatigue. Not because you're not strong, not because you're a weakling or whatever. Some people like to use that as a no. When you get fatigued, you're more likely to make mistakes, right? I play sports. Some people, if you're watching this, chances are you played sports. You make more mental errors when you're fatigued versus when you're completely fresh. That same thing rolls over into technique of exercise too. Technique falters because of the physiological level of fatigue, because of here, mental fatigue as well. So you have those two things working against you. So you want to make sure that you're fully recovered so that you can repeat that same level of effort. The full recovery may be one whole day, right? And in terms of that particular moment while you're working out, recovery may look like 60 seconds or 2 minutes of recovery before you repeat the next exercise. But when you're performing an exercise, right, make sure that you recovered enough so that you can repeat that same number of repetitions at that given weight. So if I'm doing a 200-pound leg press, right, and I only rest 30 seconds and I feel like, oh shit, I can only do, you know, 8, not 10, then I may need to rest a little bit longer, right? Or I rest my next 2 reps and then I call it. But you need to recover long enough so that you can repeat the same number of repetitions. That's the indicator. That's what you're looking for. And for most people, if you can recover for 90 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds, you'll be recovered enough. And then also, I see people doing an exhaustive um, warm up. The warm up's not meant to be the workout, and the warm up can detract away from the actual workout itself. So don't make this an extensive warm up. Usually, if you're doing repetitions at 12, I'd say anywhere between like 8 or more, you don't need an extensive warm up. You don't, because you're operating at what? About, if it's at 8, you're probably close to about 75% of what you can do. You don't necessarily need to warm up that much. Maybe one round at 65, you jump right into the 75. The moment in which you need to have an exhaustive warm up, and this is bare minimum number of repetitions for sure, is when you are doing, yeah, I'd say 85 or above. If you're doing 85 or above, you need warm up sets. And I wouldn't go higher than about 2 to 3 warm up sets to lead into what you're doing. Some people will do more. I used to do, I used to try to prescribe up to 5. You don't need 5 warm up sets at different weights. Just do 3 leading into the next to your work set and call it a day. And that's all you really need, to be completely honest. Any more than that, you're just going to exhaust yourself, and then it'll negatively impact your work set. All right. All right. And this also means that when you're doing a warm up for your plyometric work, and I think I may have put one in there. I'll find a warm up that someone can use. Um, but you want to make sure that you're using a warm up before you do your skill development for coaches. Before you do your skill development or you do your practices, make sure you're doing a warm up. You're warming up the muscles or the joints, the full range of motion, so that you don't suffer an injury. And I know it sounds silly and it seems like it's a huge waste of time, but trust me, it's not. You're more likely to hurt yourself by not being fully prepared for the activity at hand. Okay? Older coaches will know what I'm talking about. You gotta warm up the body, get it ready for the thing that you're gonna be doing next. But the performance of it, the science is clear. You need to prepare your body for the thing that you're about to do next. And it doesn't take an exhaustive warm up, something 3 to 5 minutes. Um, walking RDLs, walking lunges, um, lateral lunges, high knees, what have you. I can find something that I'll find a warm up that we can use, and I'll put it in my YouTube shorts. But you need to do something to help prepare your muscles for the thing that you do. What you don't want to do is go into a workout or a competition blind, which I mean is like not having done that motion before, right? Sometimes you do something, you tweak something because your body just wasn't prepared for it. You want to prepare your nervous system to be able to respond when you need to. You don't want to ask the nervous system to be at 100%, um, ready to give 110% without prepping you, without telling you what it is you needed to do. So many people get hurt just doing that. Um, I think that's all I got for that. If you have any questions about fitness, not about where I'm going, I'm going home. If you have any questions about fitness or training, specifically basketball, um, if you have questions, feel free to let me know, and I will try to answer the best of my ability. I'll look at it later. But hey, everybody, I just had a talk about plyometrics for basketball, jumping. Um, I also have a workout template in my um, bio. Please take that, use that as a workout. Take that, it's free. It'll help you. Yo, what up? It's free. Take the workout template, use it, to plan your workouts. If you have questions about how to plan your workouts, I can totally help you. Just let me know. But it's very helpful to plan your workouts in advance so that you can minimize the chances of ignoring an area of the body, but more importantly, decreasing the risk of overuse. Decrease the chances of overuse by one, planning out your workouts so you can see where there are holes and gaps in what you're training. But good luck. Best of luck. Um, all right. But have a great day. Take care, guys. Um, until the next one.